So let's get busy first of all with Mademoiselle Ashley. Ashley, how are you doing today?
I am doing much better than I was yesterday.
You know what's interesting is yesterday on Facebook, I'm on Facebook and you popped up and it says like a map of the Kingwood emergency room, and I'm like, oh my god! The first thing I thought about is what's wrong. I couldn't figure because I had just spoken to you, I think, a few hours before,
Right.
and it's like you sounded fine. What are you doing at an emergency room?
Yeah,
And
I had
then
a little bit of
I sent you a
exhaustion,
message. So tell me what happened.
with a tad bit of strep throat and got a little shot of steroids and antibiotic and I can't quit. There's no resting in this game, so I'm fine. I feel
You're
so
fine.
much better.
Well, I mean, you don't show any signs of having been sick or anything like that. So it's like, oh my God, she's back. But anyhow, you've been doing a lot since the last time that we spoke. So why don't you tell us some of the things before we get into some of the more detailed question? Why don't you tell me some of the things that you've done so far?
So originally, when we first had met and spoke on your show, I was doing a little bit of stuff with an organization that I'm not necessarily a part of anymore, but I did learn a lot. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have gone forward with my activist role. I kind of stepped out on my own. I thought it was probably best because it was easier for me to agree with myself, just like probably would say.
Wait,
So
actually, you mean are you difficult? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
no. I'm picky. I'm
You're
very
picky. Okay, I got that.
And so I said, you know what? There's no reason with what we have today with technology and outreach for me to be able to control what I'm letting out, know the facts that I am giving out. And I just thought it was easier that way. So after being on your show, you pretty much inspired me to be able to try to mimic what you're doing and continue with the movement. And so that's what I've done. I've also partnered up with the DFW Academy of Cannabis Science, and we are educating. That is the foundation of this cannabis movement is education. So I've gotten with them, and JR, Billy, and Holly are amazing individuals. And I actually had the opportunity to go to Vegas to the MJ BizCon, and it is the largest convention for cannabis entrepreneurs all over the world. And you would be amazed at how many people are invested in this industry. And it's not what you would think. It's not the stoner culture and stuff like that. So, between education, consulting, and going national, meeting with celebrities, it has been a wonderful journey.
Well, look, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing. You know, it's interesting because you just said something very important. You just said it is not just the stoners that are looking into this now. And I tell you what's quite interesting. I went to the Netroots 2017 and Netroots 2018. And cannabis had a big presence there. And in fact, I did some interviews with quite a few people that are trying to get the average person involved in the business, in the marijuana business, into growing, into selling, because everybody expect this to be legalized throughout the country. But there's something, and I'm going to go a little bit ahead of something that you've mentioned before because it sort of intersects with some of what occurred at Netroots. There were this group that came and they said, you know, we want you to interview us because we want to put this message out here. And they said, when you look at the jails right now, a lot of folks in jail are people of color that do marijuana. And who do you see growing marijuana? None of us grow marijuana. And it's interesting because earlier you and I are talking, and you just said, you know, there's some other things that are inspiring you with what you want to do in the movement. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you told me earlier about passing this along to other folks that normally wouldn't be in growing, etc.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So, one thing that I'm passionate about, well, the first thing you obviously know, my brother and the veterans with PTSD, that's what my first movement to get involved was. However, I'm colorblind. I
Mm-hmm.
love everybody. And the prohibition, it all started where they kind of threw marijuana. I prefer the word cannabis because for
Mm-hmm.
it does have a better ring to it, especially with conservatives. But, what I'm noticing in this industry is, especially in Texas, the amounts of money you're having to put forward to be invested, and it's something that's so new, you have no capital to get involved. is now your cultivators and your dispensaries and all of your people that are making a lot of money off of this herb that is natural and shouldn't be like this anyway, but you don't see any African Americans or Hispanics. Why? Because they don't have capital. Why? Because they're putting these large caps on licenses. They're putting these ungodly regulations. And it doesn't sit right. Where has humanity gone? Why are we not going to make sure that we take care of those that we've taken so much from? Because there's people that have spent life in prison over a plant. And let's say one day their family decides to get in the business. It's not going to happen here in Texas, Egberto. And it's not going to happen in a whole bunch of the other states either. And so if I have the chance to financially get involved with something of that nature or organize a nonprofit, that is something I would love to see. And I'm not afraid. I don't care what anyone thinks about it. It's the truth. And you know me, Egberto, I love to speak the truth.
Yeah, it gets you in trouble sometimes.
Hey, bring it.
But yeah, well, I'm glad to see that because we have, that is exactly what we spoke about at Netroots Nation, both 2017 and 2018. We had people coming in and saying, you know what, this is a new industry. We're not going to allow the corporatocracy to do what they do all the time and come into the industry, and the average person is pretty much left out. If you notice, you have guys like the Speaker of the House, Boner, who used to be a conservative Republican. He's now on the board of one of the largest cannabis investment firms or something like that. So that this is, whereas you mentioned earlier the stoner class, right?
Right.
Well, somehow now they are giving it respect. Look at, it didn't need it from, but suddenly it's going to be respectable now. So it's like, you better get on board right now.
Right. But the main thing is you need to get on board. But a lot of these larger organizations, let me tell you this. Anything you do in life with business takes capital, takes money. There is a reason that we are only seeing these big organizations and these big nonprofits speak on this issue here in our state. Why? Because they have financial backing. And we're dragging our feet in Texas. We have currently got, I believe, 12 or some odd bills that have been introduced this legislative session for cannabis, and they all stink.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about them? Why do you say they all stink?
Because it's known, it's a well-known fact that when you take this bill to the floor, you're not going to get any more than what's on that paper. You can only get less.
Right.
And the thing is with being with the DFW Academy of Cannabis Science, there's so much more that we need medicinally. I don't feel that these organizations, let's say that this organization has been charging tons of money for their little, these seminars they put on, right?
Mm-hmm.
For years. And they're just now finding out that you cannot get a bank account with the word marijuana in it.
Right.
Where have these funds been going? And that doesn't seem but this could have been something that was learned.
Right.
This could be, if you ask them about the endocannabinoid system or CBD or CBN, or even how to correctly pronounce, the terminology, and what certain terpenes, can they tell you about terpenes? Can they tell you what epilepsy needs? Which terpenes are good for what sickness? If PTSD needs THC, or if epilepsy needs THC or more CBD, they cannot tell you these things. Therefore, I think it is very essential that the leading organizations fighting these fights that are persuading our legislators to write these laws, or, to write these bills and to make these laws, they need to be educated. They don't just need to be educated in lobbying. They don't need to be just educated in how to speak to a representative, because what angers me is this is what everyone in Texas is being told. Stop cramming it down their throats, Ashley, because then you're going to get less than what you want, and they're not going to even listen to you at all. Egberto, that's ass backwards.
Right.
That's very backwards, because a lot of other states too do not realize, because when I went to another state, the feeling and the support and the lifestyle was beautiful. It was so amazing. I actually got to meet Landon. Landon is an individual who his mother fought the system when he had cancer, and the chemo was killing him. And there's very numerous kids that are getting taken from their parents when they choose to treat them with cannabis. The mother said, not doing it. I'm doing as I wish with my child. And that child is now running around cancer free, stronger than an ox. And had she not fought through it, it would have never happened. And that's what Texas legislators are not getting, and disgusts me because none have had the guts. You know, we had a bill in 2015. It was House Bill 2165. And at the time, it was authored by Simpson, who's no longer in office. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect bill. It may be a little extreme, but like I said, what these organizations are not telling our Texans is you can always get less. You can never get more. So it's so important to educate on these children that are suffering, to educate on the political system, and to stop telling Texans, shut your mouth and be a good girl and a good boy. So they'll give you a little bit more, because what other states don't realize is we have to wait 2 more years.
Every single time.
Every single time. And I hate the fact that we have not had a legislator stand up to write a bill that, even if it was a little more aggressive, it can always be altered on the floor. And all the children that will have to be medical refugees, all the veterans we will lose to these cocktails of pills, and all of these other things such as Parkinson's and muscular sclerosis, CMT, you name it, it kills brain tumors. You know, your CB1 is, we have an endocannabinoid system. And I hate the fact that because pharmaceuticals obviously run a whole bunch of the political system here in Texas, just to shoot it straight, that this is why we're dragging our feet and listening to these organizations. Because, you know, the facts are here. We have countries, Israel, India, the research is phenomenal. And we're just sitting back and not doing anything. And we're going to wait 2 more years, and we're going to lose a lot of children, a lot of veterans, and a lot of lives.
Well, you know, this is all calculated, Ashley. I mean, the reality is when you mentioned about pharmaceuticals in Texas, it's not just pharmaceuticals in Texas, it's around the entire country.
Oh, of course.
And the whole deal, the whole idea is we want to first finish a capitalization of the products that we have now and recover the money from the products. And then CBD and all these other things that you know better than I do will then take over the market when it's time. But in other words, they don't want the competition from what cannabis has to offer. They don't want any of that. What they want is exactly.
They want people, and that is humane. That is not how I live my life. And if I have to spend the rest of my life speaking up, if someone wants to say I'm being too aggressive, so be it.
Well, let me tell you, you answered something that a good friend of mine said. When I told him that I was going to have you on the show today, he was kind of taken aback, and he said, well, you know, the way she does it, because there are times that you're in your face, which I told you straight up, that is what you're supposed to be doing anyway, because you're trying to get, it's just like what you said, you're trying to get that attention now. Yeah. I mean, who is president again?
Trump.
And whether you like him or not, the one thing he knows he knows what to do is to get attention to achieve a particular goal.
Exactly.
All right. And so, and that is what that is what I learned, right? I mean, even in some of the things that I write, I've learned to make headlines that are truthful, but sometimes explosive. Otherwise, it's with 1,000 other headlines that just put people to sleep.
Right.
You know, so we have to do that. But anyway, Ashley, so first tell us a little bit about the laws that you know of that's in Congress, and tell me where are we going, or what should we do about these laws? Because according to you, I don't think any one of them really satisfies what you want.
No. So we are dragging our feet right now with the medicinal. I do not by any means. Okay, so Yes. In fact, when I was in the hospital yesterday, I got the chance to speak with a doctor, and she agreed with me. She said, you know what? These pharmaceutical and politic issues in our state make it very hard on us doctors. She said, I am a full supporter of CBD. I'm a full supporter of cannabis. What I'm not a supporter of, and this is what I was getting at, is my issue is I don't know per se that I'm for full legalization. I am to an extent, but
Wait, I gotta ask you. I need to stop you. What do you mean by you don't know if you're for full legalization?
I do think that it needs to be tested because pesticides are a big issue. Now, if you want to grow your own little plant at home, like they have in California, grow your own plant. If you want to be stupid enough to put pesticides on there and smoke it, that's your own dumb fault.
Mm-hmm.
But when, I'm talking about dispensaries, pharmacies, whatever, doctors prescribing it or recommending it, yes, yes, yes. There's a big needs for labs and for testing the substances on your plant or in your plant, because that's one of the major downfalls for the reputation of cannabis. But see, that's the problem. I know you know Dean Becker, right?
Yes.
And one of his pet peeves that I agree with 100% is right now we're getting what they call the shit weed.
Right.
Anything that doesn't pass all of these other laboratory testing areas, guess where they go? Right here in Texas. And so everyone gets to smoke pesticides, right? That's not okay. But the whole reason with the laws and all of that is we need to broaden that. We can't just sit here and say, okay, we've got 3 companies with licenses, and obtain a license, you got to have like $2 million and capital, and you've got to have this, and this, and a whole year's worth of X amount of money in your bank account, and blah, blah, blah. When really the stoner cultures are the best cultivators.
Right.
I know a man by the name of Chris Harris in Northern California. Wonderful man. I love the fact that he's African-American, doing the thing, standing up for his culture. And he said, Ashley, give me the green light and I'll come put labs all in Texas. But that's not what Texas wants. It's the whole facade of don't un-Texas my Texas.
Right.
You look on the website for Texas agricultural and the regulations, it's like a big Walker Texas Ranger standing there, with it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, guys, we're the United States. Let's not be the dumb state. Let's get the other states to help us and tell us where they screwed up and make it easier and better for everybody. But it's seeming that for some reason, I'm getting this feeling with legislative session coming up and the bills that have been introduced, especially with how much they've changed prior years and the legalization bills that were introduced then. It's really funny to me how everybody's kind of went skirt and said, never mind, we don't want that. We just want a little bit of medicinal, because I think honestly and truly my full belief is they want to get as much money out of it as they can here in Texas. And you know what? The only people that are going to pay is the citizens and the sick and the ill. And that's awful.
Right. That is actually pretty bad, because now, whereas you're not sure about full legalization, you see, I am for full legalization, not only of marijuana, but of many other things, and
so much of the drug cartel.
Right. And the funny thing about it is I don't even smoke it.
Do what you want,
Right.
Pharmaceutical companies choose to kill you off. It's kind of like process of elimination. Let the dumb die off themselves. If they want to do it. But yeah. I mean, this is medicine we're talking about, Egberto. And
right.
The endocannabinoid system that we are just being told about is so crucial to our bodies.
Look, I am with you that, yes, we want it for medicine. All of that, I'm with you. But I want to be bold. I want to say, look, if I don't want to look like a square, because I'm really not. I just don't drink. I just don't smoke. Okay.
You're healthy, and that's great.
But here's the deal. I see everybody drinking, and I see what alcohol do to people. I shouldn't say I don't drink. I should say I drink very little, because every now and then if somebody come by, we'll have a social beer. But anyhow, what I don't get, Ashley, is alcohol does so much more damage to a person's body,
right,
than smoking weed, or wait, then do you say smoking cannabis or do you say smoking weed? You say smoking weed,
I
right?
say both because
Oh,
I like cannabis when we're talking to conservatives because it seems to get me a little bit further in the conversation. But I say marijuana, weed, ganja, bud, sticky icky. I mean, you've heard my commercial.
right, I did. But
So
so yeah, though. But so it does so much, and I wish, and I don't know, I see some of the things that you do out there. The one thing that I wish you did more is contrast, for the recreational aspect, because I kind of feel sometimes that you concentrate a lot on the medicinal aspect. I don't know if that is if you do that from a calculated reason that you do that. I kind of have a hunch as the reason you do that.
oh yeah, well because I see that that's how the state's kind of dragging their feet right now, and
Uh huh.
so it's kind of like my way of sitting there going, okay, guys, y'all want to fight for medicinal? Let me tell you about medicinal.
Right.
So tell me about medicinal, I don't get very many answers from anyone that I'm seeing talking about the substance because I think everybody's pretty much for recreational, which I am too. I am
Right.
too. I am for recreational. I am for what I see the importance in testing. So earlier when I said, I'm not by any means, for like, no, I am for full legalization. I
Hmm.
and recreational use, but I do see the importance in lab testing and getting the full certificate of analysis on everything's that in. I mean, with me telling you I'm getting into consulting, one thing I've been learning is people want to see the full rundowns of these, compounds that are in their plants and make sure that some people won't purchase a stock or hemp by the ton if it has a category of other. I don't blame them because you never know what other is. So when I say I'm not for full legalization, I am, but I've been hitting hard on medicinal because let's just face it, we don't have a legislator here in Texas that has the guts to do a bill for full legalization. And until we find one, which I'm hoping to, I will not sleep until we do.
Right. Right.
I'm hoping that Moody will open his eyes and see that what he wrote wasn't good enough. I'm hoping that Click will help because she severely messed up the first time. Uh,
Hmm.
and I'm sorry if that comes across rude, but it's the truth. The best bill we had was the one that Simpson wrote in 2015. And it's a shame he's not in office anymore.
And
But
what did that bill say that made it the one that you wanted?
it was House Bill 2165 by Simpson in 2015. And it was for legalization. It was merely perfect. So it's almost like all I need or all we need, Corey Watkins, you know him, my very good friend that we work with a lot
Right.
of stuff together with Free the Weed in Texas. All we need is one legislator with the guts to reintroduce this bill. And if there's something that they don't agree with and it just seems too much or too extreme, the work's already done for them. They can cross out whatever they need. But it's just a shame, Egberto. We can't find one. So it seems to me like we're going to have to do a lot of reconsidering when we vote next time.
Well, it's interesting because all the progressive ones that we supported claimed that they were supporting the legalization of cannabis. So maybe it's time for us to call them out on it.
Need to. We need to. There was a House district, I want to say it was 131 or something like that, Alma.
Uh-huh.
She said that if she had enough calls, she would do it. And we went and we stood out on the street. Corey Watkins and Eric Martin. He
Hmm.
was NFL player and Super Bowl winner for the Patriots in 2014. And the three of us went down in her district and we held signs and we got a lot of great feedback. And people stood there while we had our phones and called her right there. We jammed the line. We also talked with oh, my mind went blank. Sean,
From where? A congressperson?
it's a House Representative, Shauna. I'll have to get
But
the name.
yeah.
And her phone lines were locked. Like nobody could get through with so many calls. So I am just dumbfounded. I don't know why Sean Theory, I think is her name.
Got it.
Yes. her phone was not working because it was blowing up so much, with support of people saying, please introduce a bill like this. Please bring back 2165. Egberto, nothing has been done. I
Well,
don't get it.
that's what this show is for. We're going to, what I'd like you to do is, at this point in time, Ashley Miller, the cannabis activist, blogger, educator, I want you to do something special right now.
Okay.
Speak directly to every single every single Texas Congress person, and tell them the bill that we need to have before May.
Okay. I am speaking to all of our legislators, and I am asking you, and I'm begging you, for the epilepsy children, for the PTSD veterans, for the Parkinson's patients, and not only that, for the people in Texas that are suffering from depression, anxiety, cancer, you name it, there's 1,000 reasons. We need a better bill. We need for you to show us that money is not your objective and not your main target, the backings of your campaign, because I can promise you, if one of you will bring back House Bill 2165, the money that will be pouring into your campaign will be far more. And we will promise a reelection without a shadow of a doubt. The one that brings back 2165 will have all of Texas's support. We've got to change our mindset, and we've got to realize we cannot be last. We cannot be last on the boat. So please, I'm begging you, Texas legislators, give us a chance. And if you would like for the school that I am with to educate you on this plant and the process in which it can be done, we have talked to other states rather than listening to other individuals that have been stuck in Texas with very knowledge on this plant. Please give us a chance to educate you and bring back House Bill 2165 from 2015.
Couldn't have been said any better. Could not have been said any better. Before you leave, just want to give you some of the stuff that we have here. We have from Patricia De Galani. Hey there, two of my favorite people. We have, of course, our regular Michael Rudnin. I expect the president to lie to the people today. Michael, we'll talk about that in the next segment. Patricia, love you guys. Denise Laundry, yes, definitely my two favorites. Denise, let's see. Lawrence Sims, what is the deal with the cannabis crowdfund project that Roland Martin is promoting? Have you seen those ads?
What is it?
Okay, Roland Martin has been on his, he has a show similar to this, and he has been promoting an investment group that's trying to build or that's run. What they're doing is they're getting properties and getting people to grow their marijuana on their properties. And what they're doing is they're collecting investments, and I think groups of $350 in a pop. In other words, you give several pops of $350 for an investment into this firm, and what they are intended to do is support all the growers of marijuana. I don't know. I saw the ad, but I don't know too much about it.
It may be hemp. I'm not sure if it's marijuana. I'll have to look into that. But my piece of advice on that is they are free to contact me anytime through my website. And we can get them with our consulting team. And the main piece of advice is always go to a cannabis consultant before you spend a dime. And that's what we're here for.
Tell us how to get to you. It's under the screen, but for those who are listening on the podcast.
If you want to reach out to me with any cannabis related questions or hemp, you can reach me through my website, which is www.texas, spelled out, texascannabisqueen.com.
Excellent. Okay, let's see. Great. Billy Ball, I'm so excited hearing you. I just opened the back door onto my head. It just opened the back door. Hey, you just convinced somebody else. So that is great, young lady. Okay, Michael Rudnin. I'm looking forward to the legalization in New York coming this year. As you see, you have a national audience. So let's see. Corey Watkins. Hey, Corey, how you doing? In the pockets of the evil slow play our freedom. Corey, that sounds like you, my libertarian brother, but I still love you, brother.
He's a good person.
Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Michael Cisak. The lack of transparency in government is due to heavy regulations and a large regulatory government that isn't transparent. In other words, Mike Cisak, it looks like we have intersectionality on this issue. Amazing, isn't it? Let's see what else we have here. I love what Patricia says. I drink I love marijuana. Bad person, good person, happy person.
She's the best person. I owe her a visit. In fact, I might go see her later.
All right, Mike Cisak, CBD and other related is cheap because it hasn't gone through the cost of FDA testing over 10 years. Cisak, I don't doubt that you're right on that. She's right on that, right?
And what was that again?
He said that the reason CBD is cheap is because it hasn't had to go through several years of testing. Is that true at all?
That's not true. What happened is the government has now put a halt on CBD because they see the value in it. And let's just be honest, the FDA in itself is a joke, okay?
Right.
The hair shampoo, Monet, was FDA approved, and it literally had my best friend's hair fall out like a leukemia patient.
Right.
So FDA, SHMFDA, they've put a halt on CBD because they see it's actually very, very valuable.
And they're probably going to synthesize it, and you probably won't even have to grow it. They'll create it chemically,
right? Or the whatever it is, the new the medicine that is now FDA approved for epilepsy. And my my academy friends are going to butcher me on this because I'm going to butcher the name, but Epidiolex or whatever, the first FDA approved medication for seizures.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically cannabis with chemicals, just like a little bit of chemicals thrown in it. And that's what they're giving.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it costs $36,500 a year.
And it comes from the CBD from the plant with a couple of chemicals in it.
Yes.
You know what I need? I would really love if you'd write me a blog on that one so I can post it under your... I'd like to get that particular story because that falls right in line with what we talk about drugs. But look, we got to go. We went over by 6 minutes so far, but with you, that's always the case. Ashley, you did that the last time as well. But anyhow, why don't you give your audience a closer and tell us where we go from here? Before you do that, I want to tell folks that from the time I met you, I really love all the work that you've been doing in the field, and I am just glad that you kept up with it because it is very important to have somebody as passionate as you are for this particular product, not this product, but this whole family of products, and that you realize that the only way we're going to do something with it is politically, economically, and socially. So thank you for being here. So give us a closer, Ashley.
All right. Well, everybody, I just want to thank y'all so much for tuning in to Egberto's show. Thank you, Egberto, for having me. And if it weren't for his show, I wouldn't have learned half of the stuff that I know, because for a mixture of Egberto and Corey Watkins, I wasn't into politics. So you guys be sure to stay in touch with Egberto and follow my journey on my Facebook page. Any questions you have, feel free to go to my website. And we're in this fight together. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to ask questions. And I'm in here for the long run. We'll get through this, Texas.
Thank you so kindly, Ashley. Before you go, I meant to ask you this before we got on air, so I'll just ask you in here. I want to get a link to an icon from you to add to my website, because I think this issue is important enough that we need to have exposure all over. So thank you so kindly for having been here.
All righty. Well, you
have a great day. Folks, that was the one and only Ashley. Thank you so kindly, Ashley.